You're listening to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. I'm Ananda Leeke, your Thriving Mindfully coach and podcast host. I'm also an artist, an author, a human design doula, and an interfaith reverend. The Thriving Mindfully podcast is a heart-centered, digital sacred space that I created to inspire and empower you to be present, well, and the real you. Tune into the latest conversation I've been having with myself and others about nurturing, transforming, and celebrating our lives, relationships, and career. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a new series that I'm featuring in 2023. It's the Thriving Mindfully Movement series, where I'm talking to people who are living from their hearts. They are taking what I've been doing for the last 30 plus years, and they're manifesting it in their own unique way. And so today we're kicking off this series with my birthday twin, Ronnell Perry, the founder and owner of AfroBuenaventura Transformative Travel. Did you hear all of that? AfroBuenaventura Transformative Travel. Ronnell, how are you today?
I'm doing so well. It's the afternoon here, but I feel energized. And I'm really happy to be here with you.
I'm happy to have you. Could you tell everybody where here is?
Yes, I'm in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, Brazil's blackest city, home to the largest Afro-descendant population outside of Africa, is located in northeast Brazil, about a 2.5 hour flight from Sao Paulo and Rio.
All right. And everybody, if you've been watching my Instagram, LinkedIn, and what else am I on? TikTok and YouTube, you know that I recently came back from Salvador da Bahia in Brazil and was there for the 100th anniversary of the Yemen Ya Festival. And we're going to get into some of that. But right now, I want Ronnell to tell us who he is and how he self-identifies.
All right. I identify as a Black man. I also consider myself as an expat, so U.S. citizen living abroad and living freely. I identify as a queer man, multilingual person, and an artist at heart. I think in previous lives I've done visual art, paintings, drawings when I was a youth, and now I create art with cultural experiences and travel. And so I really feel like I'm an artist at heart.
Yeah, I would definitely co-sign that. I think you're a cultural ambassador artist. I mean, a CAA.
Love that. Love that.
So how did you get into languages and travel? Because when we were in Salvador, you amazed all of us in how you were able to move in between languages and cultures and be present to us and have a great time yourself and make things happen.
You know what? Thank you for acknowledging that. That's one of the things that I feel like is a thread throughout my life is this increasing ability and this skill that I've developed over many years to be able to move through spaces. In some spaces, people don't know if I'm a local or not. In some spaces, I wear my, American hat and I speak English. In other spaces, I wear my trying to fit into the community's hat and I speak Portuguese and try to be as integrated into the community as I can. Uh, you know, I was talking to some clients yesterday, and it was a group of Black women who are thinking about coming to pay homage to Imogen next year, and they were all Black women. And so I always highlight that Black women have always been the foundation of the folks who have supported me. And now, as a business owner and someone who's growing my footprint in the travel space, Black women have always been the ones who are showing up with their dollars and their physical bodies on the experiences that I host. And so not only is that representative of something for me right now, but it goes all the way back to how and why I became interested in languages, culture, and travel. When I was a youth, my aunt was a French teacher in Gary, Indiana, outside of Chicago. And she had the hookup. So she got us into a language learning program in the Gary school system every summer. And it was called Study Alternative International Languages. So we studied German, Arabic, Russian, Chinese, and some other languages that are not languages that a lot of folks are familiar with. Usually they think of French, Spanish, things like that. But we were studying these other languages. And so a part of it was language learning, but a part of it was culture and understanding societies. And then also at the end of at that 4-week program as a youth, we would go on a trip. So one year we went to 1996 Olympics, year we went to San Francisco, to Toronto. So I became acclimated and expecting that travel and being exposed to other cultures would be a part of my life as a youth. I always wanted to go to the other side of the city to see what kind of food they had there, what kind of architecture was there, what kind of art and shows that I could see as a youth. So that was something that I always found exciting, interesting, and I'd appreciated about folks and the diversity of the world. And so as an adult, I started traveling and I lived abroad for some time. And so it just kind of became a part of actually who I am. And really what makes me feel like a whole being is actually being in places where I'm navigating, I'm learning, and I'm trying to make connections with the local community.
I love that. I think when we have an opportunity to be exposed to languages early on, and everybody, you can pick up a language at any point in time. You have to make that decision. I was fortunate to have a father and a mother that demanded that we take languages, Spanish, in the 70s, because that was what was being told would be the second language in the United States. And they made sure that we were able to travel to Puerto Rico a couple of times. So having those experiences always connected me to Spanish speaking places that had an Afro connection, an African connection. And one of the things that I loved about the experience I had during the Ancestral Spirits, that's right, the inaugural Ancestral Spirits trip that Ronnell and his team hosted for us in January and February, was the fact that we had a chance to learn. If we wanted to, we could use the Google Translate, because yours truly studies Spanish and French, and I get lazy when I don't practice it, but I was able to navigate it and also have Ronnell there to stand in when things got tricky. It Watching you gave me the confidence, to just keep trying and to keep doing it. You have this this contagious curiosity with the world around you and outer space. Your whole being is filled with curiosity, and you want to make sure that folks get what they can get. You drain it all out, like you squeeze. It's like a lemon. You squeeze it
Yes.
all out for us when we travel with you. Why create AfroBuenaventura Travel? You've been doing it, and you could just keep doing it yourself. Why do it and then give it to us?
Yeah. Well, one, thank you for all the kind things that you say. Whenever I speak to you, I always leave the conversation glowing and reflecting upon all of the qualities that I possess, and I really appreciate that. It's not always common that you leave a conversation feeling so juiced up, and I really value that about our interactions. Um, I started Afro Buenaventura because like you, I studied Spanish all through high school and college, and I did Peace Corps in Latin America as well. But um, in our language classes, and sometimes they touched on culture, I never saw any Black folks, but I knew that there were Black folks in Latin America. I just didn't really know where they were and what it looked like. So I started to kind of investigate that on my own. And one year, in one of the high level Spanish courses, I think before I graduated undergrad, our Spanish teacher said, "What do you want the next course to be? What do you want it to be about?" And I said, "I want it to be about Black people in Latin America." And so she crafted a course where she highlighted literature figures, authors, poets of African descent. And so we read like this biography of a Cuban slave. I think his name was Francisco. I forgot his last name, but like he was like the Cuban Frederick Douglass. And we read about Quince Dunst from Panama. And so all of these folks throughout the Caribbean and Latin America who were Black and who identified as Latino. And so that kind of just opened the world for me. So when I, started working in corporate America and I could afford to travel, I traveled where I could. And one year in 2016, I decided to go to Colombia, to Cali, where there's a large Black community. I think the largest Black community in Colombia. To look at that, to find that community and to explore it. And so I was reading all the guides because I always do a lot of research, and all the guides said, "Do not go to this one city on the coast called Buenaventura." I was like, why? And it said, because it's dangerous. It's home to a large Black population, but it's dangerous. They're having turf wars. It's a port where a lot of drugs come in. There's nothing of cultural value there. Don't go there. But I ended up going anyway, because I know that the voice those people were speaking from wasn't a voice that resonated with me, and they didn't share the identity and the interest in the culture that I did. And so I went anyway, and I ended up taking a boat ride to a local fishing community outside of Buenaventura. And when I got to that fishing community, I didn't have any hotels booked. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I didn't know how I was getting home, anything. I got off that boat, found a hotel, came back out to the beach, and that night there was a performance of youth singing about being Black in Colombia and being proud of their identity as a Black child. And from that moment on this dark beach where you just see these kids on stage, these lights dancing and singing in this amazing costumes, I was like, wow, it was absolutely meant for me to be here and to ignore those voices that said, don't come here, because there is value here. There's culture here. There's people here. There's hospitality here. I'm showed up without nothing and I feel totally safe and embraced. And so from that moment on, I realized that I wanted to be a representative for some of the communities, the Black communities in Latin America who don't always have an opportunity to be highlighted in a touristic sense, who don't always receive the tourism dollars and economic impact and awareness about their communities that a lot of non-Black communities in Latin America often do. And so at the core of what I do is show mostly Black folks who are my clients, other Black folks living in Latin America, and make connections and make sure that the dollars that we're bringing to those countries are positively impacting the communities that we're visiting.
And I'm glad you mentioned the dollars, because when I think of the full name of your business, AfroBuenaventura Transformative, that word stuck with me. And being able to travel to a place where people look like me, we have the same blood. If you were born in the Americas and you're African American, you got some indigenous blood in you, you got some African blood in you, and you got European blood in you. Only in the Americas have I felt grounded and at home. And it is because of that. It's that connection. Doesn't mean that I didn't feel good when I went to Ghana or Senegal or Egypt. It just means that when I went to Cuba, when I went to Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Haiti, and now Brazil, my spirit was home. It was home. And because I was home, I was able to support people who look like me in their businesses. And I got a couple of the products here, right by me because I use them on a regular basis. But one of the things that makes Ronnell's trip, his experience, I don't even want to call it a trip, it's a voyage into yourself and into the culture and how you connect with it. And there's room for you to figure that out on your own. There's space. You're not going to be tired. That's one thing I appreciated about it being transformative, that there was space and time for you to rest, for you to explore on your own, to be with the group, to be at the beach, to do whatever it is that you want to do. You weren't wedded to the schedule, and you were exposed to new experiences like the yacht trip. I never did that before, and that was a wonderful thing. So the products, I am wearing a ring from a Black jeweler, an Afro-Brazilian jeweler in Brazil. And the part of town that we went to, and he will correct me because he'll give me the name, because I'm not even going to say the name right or remember it. We did a lot of shopping there, and you were free to go to wherever you wanted to, but it was really clear that Ronnell had us at least stick our heads in, to the places and meet the entrepreneurs and see what they had to offer. So can you tell us about the woman? It's Omi, and this was a really big favorite place. This is some lemongrass body butter that I use, especially for the mashy elbows and my hands when they get dry. Can you tell us about her? And then also Regina Navarro, two of my favorite places.
Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that. And like I said, the core of what I do is creating experiences for folks who are paying me to do this, but also making sure that our economic impact is
Mhm,
acutely felt by the folks who are in these communities. And
mhm,
if you're not familiar, Salvador is a matriarchal, in Black Salvador anyway, the Afro
mhm,
descendant community is a matriarchal society in Brazil, totally. Even in Rio, the women were the ones who started the social organization. The women were the ones in the streets selling food and making money after slavery for their families. The women were the ones who were raising money to send kids to school. So it's a very much matriarchal society. And therefore, you see a lot of Black women entrepreneurs. A lot of the men work in like more blue collar, like physical labor jobs. And that's something that was inherited from slavery as well. And the women tend to work in small businesses creating things. And so in Pelourinho, the historic part of town where we were, there's a lot of shops there. And so I specifically highlight Black owned businesses because oftentimes you'll have Black folks working in stores, but that does not mean that they are the owner. So I try to figure out who's the owner, and if they're Black, we're going to highlight it, and they have quality things. One of them is the woman who made the body butter. I forget the brand, but she creates herbal, using herbal and natural ingredients. She creates cosmetics. So, she has a place where she sources these cosmetics and develops them with local labor and then brings them to her business to sell them. She is also a priestess in the Candomblé faith. So she uses her understanding of the spiritual representation and meaning and um, effects of herbs to infuse that knowledge into her products. So she is very successful there. She has incredible products that smell amazing. When I first came to Salvador, I was using her hydration cream on my hair, and it was amazing. The other lady, her name is Regina Navarro. She is incredible too. She has a very beautiful boutique store where she sells clothes that she and her husband make from authentic West African cloth. She makes jewelry. She makes perfumes. She makes all of these things, and they are also very much aligned with the Candomblé faith, and they have a lot of meaning and spiritual symbolism within them as well. And she also does spiritual readings. So she also gave each of the clients a spiritual reading, which kind of helped them to figure out more about their Orisha, having a relationship with them, about their future, and what kind of path and steps they need to take in order to fulfill their highest self and actualization. And so those are two women who I, always make sure we stop at when we're in Pelourinho. There are many others, including restaurants, tour guides,
mhm.
everybody that I employ and that I contract when I'm facilitating these tours is either a woman or they're a Black person. And so that's something I'm very committed to.
Yeah, I have to say, and it's Omi. That's the name of her business. There was one store that I went to several times, and it's Katuka did I say it right? Katuka?
Yes, you did say it
Yeah,
right. That is an
Katuka.
incredible store. My
Yeah,
gosh. They have
it.
just, it's owned by a Black man from the US, but he's really become a local, but he employs
Mhm,
local Black folks, and
mhm.
he has like a couture clothing where, once they run out, they run out, but it's always beautiful quality stuff that I enjoy as much as you do. I know you went like 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah, most of my gifts came from there, and most of the things that I got for myself came from there. Wonderful books. I can't wait to rock the dress that I bought there. That's a statement piece for life. The jeweler that I went to is Bonfim.
Yes, Los Bon Theme, and it's run by a Black family, and they've passed the business down.
Yes.
And so they're a Black family who runs and sells jewelry there in Pellerin, which is it's not very often that you see kind of like a high-end jewelry store of that level selling jewelry. So that's very unique. And when I learned that they were Black, I started immediately supporting that business. And I really think their stuff is quality.
Yeah, it is. So you mentioned spiritual readings, and I wanted to let folks know that for me, I came to Salvador de Bahia because it had always been on my list of things to do before I turned 60. I'm 58. I just turned 58, and Ronnell and I share the same birthday, different years, different decades. And I wanted to be able to participate in a festival that I had learned about 30 years ago from women who are now in their 70s. They were going when they were in their 40s and their 50s. And we were in the same meditation group. And I saw a painting of these women dressed in white going into the water. And when I get a massage every month, one of the practitioners there, that's her painting in her room, and she constantly talks about it. So of course I had to go. Didn't know exactly what I would experience, just knew that I needed to be there, and I was open. And that festival, the whole time when we were able to witness offerings to the different Orisha that had mattered most to me before I found out, in my reading, some other Orisha with Oshun and Yemenya, being able to witness that instead of watching a video or listening to music or seeing pictures or reading a book about it, but to actually be in the midst of it and to let yourself just allow spirit to move through you the way that it needs to. And to have Ronnell there, just down for the entire ride, that is a gift that I can't say thank you enough for. But I wanted folks to know that it is deeply spiritual, to be there. It is a way of returning back to yourself. It is for me, having had the privilege and the honor of being able to go to the door of no return in 2 different places in the continent, and then to be there and to see where we have landed here, and to know, a lot about my family that a lot of folks don't know about their own. It just deepens the connection to yourself. You get to figure out how you want to honor your spirit and your ancestors. And you can do that in so many different ways with ancestral spirits. And I want to turn the conversation to your spiritual practice without going into a lot of detail, because I want people to share what they want to share. You have, you got your reading. This is a part of your life. How did it come into your world? How did you begin to say, this is important to me and I want to make a commitment to having it be a part of my life?
Yeah. Well, I grew up as a Christian in a Christian family. So we went to church, Christian church in Gary, Indiana, and some churches in Illinois as well. I went to Catholic high school in Hammond, Indiana. So Christianity was always a part of my life. But as I grew older and I started to explore more around the world, I realized not everyone believed the same thing. And even though they don't believe the same thing, it doesn't mean that they're satanic or that they're wrong or that somehow what they believe is not true. It just believes that it's a different path that they're taking. And so as I become more mature, I started to really appreciate ancestor veneration. And I had some classmates who grew up in Ifa and other religions. And so as I explored that in Cuba, it just became something that I started investigating more on my own. And when I came to Brazil, it was like everywhere. It was like you can't not think about it. It can't be a book you read a little bit of chapter of and then put it back, because ancestral veneration here and the Orishas and Candomblé is infused into every single morsel of culture and every single part of your daily life, from going to eat to the music you hear, even when you're just dancing and having fun, to what you see when you're walking down the street. Everything has this common thread of African spirituality in it. And so I've become more I've had more interactions with Candomblé. I would say in general, the Orishas as they manifest across different places in Cuba, Colombia here, and ancestral veneration. I had a partner who also practiced Candomblé. So I've become more interested in it. And I've tried to become more still to understand what does it mean for me and how do I want to become involved in it, because I see myself as a facilitator right now for other people to be exposed to it, to learn as much as they want. I don't necessarily call myself a practitioner, though I'm very fond of it. I'm very fond of the community that it is rooted in, and the love that is shared and shown from those people to community members, whether they belong to that practice or not. That is really what draws me. So I'm just being still in what I call myself a practitioner of in this moment, just to figure out what does it mean for me? How is it showing up? I do go to readings. I do trust what my ancestors tell um, the priestess, and that she relates to me, because everything that I've asked her and she's told me and I've done and I've waited on has shown up to be true. And so that's what it is for me right now, and I'm just waiting to figure out what does it mean for me in the future.
I love it. And I love your perspective, because just because something comes into our lives doesn't mean that you have to join it or become a member. I know for me, the Orisha showed up in my life and my creativity, and that's where they speak the most, to me. I've never felt called to be a part of a, a temple. I mean, here in DC, we have temples or houses, like in all places where we are. I just know that they're a part of me and that I've inherited this from my line, my lineage. One thing that I do want to focus in on is you've been traveling to Latin America and the Caribbean, but something made you say, I want to stay in Brazil. Why Brazil? When did you make that decision? How did it happen?
Yeah. So I back in fourth grade, I remember we were learning about the Peace Corps for some reason. They were just talking about in fourth grade stuff, and somehow the Peace Corps came up, and they were talking about Brazil. And so Brazil like made a little imprint on my mind at that point. And ultimately, I ended up becoming a Peace Corps volunteer, and I was living and working in Paraguay, which is Brazil's neighbor. And oftentimes, when I was in Brazil, I mean, Paraguay, folks would stake me as a Brazilian because they don't see many Black folks, and so the darker brown folks there who look like me who are not indigenous are usually Brazilians who come there to work. And so as I learned Spanish and became more fluent in it, became very comfortable living in Latin American context and culture, I started to think about Brazil. And folks always ask me, when you going to Brazil? And I was always afraid because I knew Brazil was so huge. I knew the Amazon was there. I wanted to go, but I also felt like I don't speak the language. And so that was kind of like a hurdle for me. But in 2019, I finally made the jump and I went to Sao Paulo and Rio. And I knew after that trip that I had to come back and that I might want to live in Brazil. Because when I went there, I sought out all the Black spaces and I was very well embraced. And I have a lot of the same relationships that I started in 2019 are very close friends of mine, folks who I do business with, folks who I trust wholeheartedly. And so it's just affirming to me that I still have those relationships and it started then. But during the pandemic, I realized I wanted to make a change in my life. I wanted to live somewhere warm. I want to live somewhere where there's a Black community. I want to live somewhere by the ocean. I want to live somewhere where queer identity is valued, respected, and accepted, and I can show up as I am. And so I decided to come to Brazil. Came to Brazil. I was in Rio. Rio was okay. It was beautiful. It was a little bit expensive, sometimes cold. And I decided to come to Salvador after a month in Rio. And I stayed in Salvador for a month, and I realized, wow, actually, I think I might like Salvador. But then I went back to Rio. And then I came back to Salvador. And at some point, I got off the plane. And I realized I was not going back to Rio because it was warm here, and the climate was warm, but also the people were warmer. Um, It was a lot less expensive. I could live the kind of lifestyle that I wanted, and I've never been back. So that's how I picked Salvador. But a lot of expats that I speak to, they say when they get off that plane and they step foot here, they feel something calling them and that they feel at home. And so I know you reflected that to me in the evaluation you left about the program, that you also felt at home. And I think that's something that I've heard of many
Mm.
Black Americans say, because I do feel like this is home for me right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how open you were to changing the location, because I think there are lots of folks that are looking at options. I just met a woman in Trader Joe's yesterday, and she was telling me she's 61, and somehow we just started talking about hair, life, everything. And she says she's preparing to move to Jamaica, but she was also looking at Panama. And I was telling her about Bahia. I said, well, if you're open, and you want to go, check it out. I said, I just came back. I said, Bahia is one of the places, Salvador in particular is one of the places that is on my list of I want to bounce back and forth from. I mean, Havana was the other place, and definitely places in Puerto Rico where I just felt like this is, like you said, it's welcoming. It's a second home.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to add one thing. I had a very clear vision about the place where I wanted to live.
Mhm.
During the pandemic, before I even got on a plane, before I even changed my job, where I ultimately ended up with a remote job that allowed me to be able to move wherever I wanted globally. But I had a very clear vision that I had written in my journal, and I did some work with my therapist at the time. Like I said, I wanted it to be a place where it was bright and sunny. It was warm. I could wear shorts all winter, also all
Mhm.
year long. It was by the ocean. I could see and walk to the ocean every single day. I would be full and surrounded by Black community. As a queer person, I would be safe and comfortable. And no other place that I have been or that I considered fit that full criteria other than Salvador. I didn't know that until I came here and experienced it, but that clear vision helped me understand where I needed to be. And so once I recognized that this Salvador matched that list that I had, I was like, there's no reason for me to go anywhere else.
Let's talk about that. You are big on visualizing and setting intentions and speaking it into existence. And I say that, everyone, because in the booklet that you get when you travel with Ronnell, if you're watching the video, you can see it. I'm showing there's a whole section on setting your travel intention, visualization exercises. There are quotes from folks who are of African descent, just helping you, if you so choose, wanting to make this a spiritual or personal development experience. So let's talk about like your value system, your belief system. How did you get into setting intentions and visualizing?
Yeah, I was influenced from several different places, but one of them was being a traveler who I feel like I traveled different than other people. When I traveled a little bit more simpler. I traveled to become closer to the communities where I was visiting and visit them in a way that felt authentic for me. And a lot of that meant leaving my Americanness in some ways in the US. That meant not expecting everything to be as punctual, as accurate as, you know, when I want it, I can have it type of vibe. And so a lot of that meant letting go of control. And so when I think about an intention, it's like, hey, this is what I want the end of this trip to look like. I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel like I went there and I met incredible people. I had incredible food. I felt well and whole. And I'm leaving and returning home a lot brighter and a lot happier than I was before. Like that's my end goal, right? So that means whatever happens in the middle, I have to be making choices consistently to get me to that end goal. And also, there are going to be things that happen when you travel that you cannot control, like you get stomach bug, or you get pickpocketed, or the hotel you're staying at is not exactly what it looked like on the website. These little things, I try to not let them throw me off from achieving my end goal. So I'm always visioning when I'm traveling, coming out of this a better person and having the experience that I wanted. Because I find that so many times these catastrophic things or things that may seem catastrophic happen to us when we're traveling because we're anxious or it's out of our comfort zone, and it can derail our whole mindset. And I think we might lose out on some of the value that travel can bring to us if we don't realize that we're in somebody else's place and we don't always have control. So that's kind of what the strategy that I used when I started traveling a lot more, just so that I wouldn't get lost in these little details that I thought should be the way I wanted them to be, when honestly I was not in control of them in the first place. The only thing I was in control of is how I experienced it, and then how I wanted myself to be able to return home. So that's one of the parts of it. But also, our mutual friend Miko talks a lot about setting your intention and setting your goal and be clear about that. And so when he and I started to chat about that, I started to implement some of those things, as simple as creating a list of things that I want with very clear action items. And so that's become, I think, part of my spirituality, part of my personal practice, just to make life good for myself. And because every single day is just a stream of choices. And if I understand what I want out of something, what I want out of the day, then I'm going to constantly be making choices that are getting me to that intention. If I'm not clear about what I want out of the day, then I'm going to be doing anything and everything. Every opportunity that comes up, I'm going to say yes. Every opportunity to spend money, I'm going to say yes. Every opportunity to be in a relationship, I'm going to say yes. Every opportunity to sit at the beach for hours and hours, I'm going to say yes. But if I know that those are not things that are going to get me to my end goal, then I'm going to say no. And so I think for myself, having this clear intention, it grounds me and it helps me understand exactly what I want and the things that I need to do to get there.
So speaking of intentions in 2023, what's your intention for travel experiences with AfroBuenaventura Transformative Travel, so people will know?
Yes, my intention for this year is to grow. This means to strengthen my relationships here with communities, with partners that do work in the travel sector. This means tour guides, this means culinary experiences, this means spiritual leaders, this means developing a relationship with them so that our interaction is not just transactional, because that's not what I want to represent here. I want to be a part of the community, and I want to be able to give that community of my talent, but also help that community be well financially. But I also want to have strong personal connections with folks within the community. So grow in that sense is one of the things. I also want to grow as far as clients that I can serve and that I can provide value for. There are a lot of people who come to Brazil, they're not aware, they have an experience that maybe turns them off, or they're expecting something they don't get, or they feel overwhelmed when they come here. I want to be the person to help them feel not overwhelmed. I want to help them be able to be clear about what kind of experience they want to have. And so I want to have more clients. I want to be able to serve more people and have a lot more people leaving Brazil feeling like they got what they wanted out of the trip. That's where I see myself growing this year, and potentially even investing in property here as well. Because like I said, this is my home, and I think that's definitely on my radar as well.
Let's talk about the upcoming trips. What's going on? Because I know you curate trips, because you
Yes.
curated a 50th birthday experience for our friend Tim M. West. Shout out to Tim. And I know that I'm going to be reaching out to you to curate something for me. I mean,
Yes.
I want to come
Yes.
back for Yemen, yeah, but I want to have, we talked while I was there, a longer experience for 2024. So tell us about what's happening for this year and
I
into next year.
Absolutely. I definitely can see you here. I could see you walking down the beach and journaling on the seafront and just chilling out, absorbing the sun. I really see you having a great time here and having a space in this community. For the trips that I have upcoming and what I do, I curate travel. So one of the ways that I do that is in group trips. I have registration right now open for a trip in November, which is going to be focused on understanding what Salvador and its African ancestry. It's called Black Rome. The nickname of Salvador is Black Rome because Rome is kind of like the blueprint for Western society. Salvador is the blueprint for Brazilian society. So that's why it's called Black Rome. And so I'm hosting folks here for that experience. And also it's coinciding with Afro Punk Bahia, which is annual. And it's actually during the same month as the African Consciousness Month, Black Consciousness Month, which is their Black History in November. So I'm having folks there. You can register for that on my site, but also I'm taking registrants for Ancestral Spirits next year, January 29th through February 4th. But also I curate individual trips. So if you say, hey, right now I want to spend 2 weeks in Brazil. I want to understand where should I stay. I want to understand how much money I should bring. I want to understand what communities I should connect with. That's the kind of thing that I do. I have personal connections on the ground here. I have folks who specialize in certain areas, whether it be spirituality, arts, dance. I can put you in contact with that. And so I can help you build an itinerary that meets your needs as far as budget. I can help familiarize you with safety and security so that you feel like you are well and you're in a safe space here. I can just do all those things to help you feel like you can build a trip and create a trip that meets your needs and that you really feel like is providing value for you in whatever way you see is best for you.
And where can people find you online, both your website as well as your social media?
AfroBuenaventura.com, and I can share this information with you. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
All right, everybody, that information will be in the show's description and wherever you find this video. As we wrap up, I want to ask you 3 questions that I'm asking everybody for the Thriving Mindfully Movement series. And first, I want to ask you, what does thriving mindfully mean to you when you hear it? And what does it look like in your life?
One, Ananda, I'm not ready to go yet. I was like, the hour's up already.
Baby, you got a life to live. See, I done been around you and I know how you move. So I told you. I'm honoring your time. I'm in DC chilling. The only thing I'm doing, y'all, is making sure that this podcast gets out, drinking some water, and getting ready for yoga. So Ronnell's life is a beautiful life, and it's a busy life.
Ananda, you are not lying. I almost feel embarrassed that you're so correct right now. Let me tell you, just to give you a glimpse, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer your question. I have dinner tonight with a friend who lives here. Who's visiting or staying here for a short amount of time with her husband who's Brazilian. We have dinner tonight. We've been planning this dinner for weeks and months, and so we're trying to coordinate outfits. That's at 8 tonight. In the morning, I'm taking a bus to meet my partner in some place with his friend because it's Easter weekend. So we're going to spend Easter weekend there, and then we're going to go to his mom's house on Sunday, and then next Thursday I go to the US. So yes, I'm super busy and it's crazy, but I enjoy it. You know what? Like, this is a life that I crafted for myself. And so it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel stressful. Yes, I have to rest, but I'm happy to have this life because it's something that in 2018, 19, and 20, I dreamed about. And right now I have it and I live it.
Ashe,
I'm,
ashe, ashe.
yeah.
Okay, now hit us with your feelings. What do you think about
Yes.
thriving mindfully, and what does it look like?
Thriving mindfully means to me being aware of who I am, being aware of what I want, and being intentional about how I'm getting it. So every morning I wake up and I read a little proverb out of this book for African Americans. I forgot the name of it. You might be familiar with it. But I also make a list of the things that I'm grateful for. This is anything as small as how beautiful the weather is to how grateful I am to have my health and be able to have my body function and meet me and serve me in the way that I need it to every day. And then I make a list of the things that I want, literally that I want. I think sometimes we're shamed in our society to say you can't articulate exactly what you want, but an only way to get what you really want is to be very clear about it. So when I say I want to own a beautiful home where I have an ocean view and that I can host folks and it has a spare bedroom for folks to come and have extended stays and I can have beautiful sunlit dinners, that's how specific I am about what I want. I'm very clear about I want to have the best body. I want to be able to work out and attract people by my spirit and my physical beauty. I say that in my list of things that I want. And then I have a section about my vision. So I'm actually speaking like I already have these things. And you might have heard of this before, where I'm saying, I woke up this morning, I checked my email. I had 10 registrations for my trip next year. I'm about to have dinner with my boyfriend. We're about to check the sunset. Like, I'm speaking these things as if I already have them. And so this is helping me be mindful of the things that I'm here for, the reason why I'm put on earth, the reason why I came to Salvador. And that is helping me make decisions every single day and every single moment that are aligning me with what I really feel like my true vision and desire out of my life is. And so that's how I'm thriving. I'm thriving because I'm happy with the choices that I make and I'm happy with the life that I chose to live. And like, that really invigorates me because I've seen many people who are just not happy with their lives, and not to say that mine is better than theirs, but when you're happy with the life that you've created for yourself, that in itself just gives you even more momentum. Even when things aren't happening exactly the way I want them to, I always know that my vision is still there and I still have time and space to create it, and I'm gonna keep moving. And so that's how I thrive mindfully.
Thank you. I love it. I love that you speak and you walk the talk, like you embody it. And it's not just flowery language or, something cool to say, you live it. And you also are a walking example of what happens when you do decide that you're going to claim your birthrights and all of it, all of it, and then some. What matters most to you at this point in your life? What matters most to you? And this could be a whole nother show.
I know. You know what? I was thinking, I'm very much into social media. And so in your little bio space, you can have a tagline. Previously, my tagline was always creating. And I got this through there's a software that I use for subscriber and client management called ConvertKit, and they had sent me these decals and this t-shirt that said something about creating, and I kind of used it a little bit and said I'm always creating because am always creating. I created ancestral spirits. I was sitting at my boyfriend's table, and I was like, I was working, and so I was like on a break or whatever. Still had my head set in. I took a break from the meetings, and I said I want to create something that really resonates with people. And I had some other trips dreamed up, and I was like, a lot of people come here for spirituality, and a lot of people want to connect with their ancestry. And so I started dreaming this up, and I just started typing it out. And I came up with the ancestral spirits because I feel like this place has these spirits here that are calling us, that are welcoming us. And it's been my most successful trip so far. So uh, the other thing that I was going to say is that I forgot, actually. I got off track. What were you asking me about?
So, what matters most to you
What
this
matters most to
stage of
me?
your life?
Yeah, so that tagline, always creating, I changed it now to good living is my birthright. And that's honestly what I believe. So good living is what matters most to me. It doesn't have to be luxurious living. It doesn't have to be playing all the time. It doesn't have to be um, funny and lighthearted all the time. It can be serious, but when I say good, I mean it's always serving my highest good. It's always serving my highest purpose. It might be difficult and sometimes it might require conversations and things that I don't want to do, but it's good because on the back end, I'm gonna get exactly what I want. And so good living is the most important thing to me. If something doesn't feel good to me, I'm not gonna do it. If people are making me do things that don't make me feel good, I'm not gonna engage with them. If there's a place where I don't feel good when I enter the space, I'm not going to go there. Good living, honoring who I am, honoring my value, honoring my wholeness is the most important thing to me. And so I just kind of curate my life based on that, create my interactions based on that, create my relationships based on that. I create all my habits based on, is this what I think good living is for me? And that's how I live.
Our shade of good living. Our shade of good living. If you could write your younger self a letter, what wisdom would you share?
Ooh, I think I want to add a piece on to what I just had is that good living is my birthright, and I don't have to struggle to get it. So often we think that we have to be at the bottom of the totem pole, getting trampled on to earn a position, that we have to allow people to treat us and talk to us any kind of way in order to earn their respect or earn their love, that we have to suffer and struggle and be at the bottom to get what we want. We don't have to do that because our ancestors are already there backing us. Our higher powers are already paving the way. We just have to align our action with that and honor ourselves. That's what I think first. If I were to write myself a letter to my younger self, I would say, you are okay just the way you are. There have been so many people, places, things, energies that have made me feel like I was less than what I was, that I was not valuable in the way that I was and the way I was born. And at several points in my life, I tried to change how I showed up in the world. And I tried to change how I sound, how I dressed, how I looked. I wanted to be white at one point. There's a lot of energy in the world that is telling us that we're not okay the way we are. But you know what? As soon as I decided that I am okay the way I was, everything just started happening for me. The people who love me the most love me because of who I am. All the successes that I have had in my personal life, and I'm not saying I'm like some crazy, incredible, successful person, but I am successful in my own, to myself. All the good things and the success that I've had in my own life have happened because I showed up in the spaces exactly who I am. People will choose you based on who you show up as naturally. You don't have to change yourself. That's what I would tell my younger self. Stop battling against it, accept yourself, create your space, and everything's gonna be okay. Because when I show up with my clients, I don't hide the fact that I'm queer. When I interface with clients who are white and who want to engage with me, I don't shy away from the fact that I'm highlighting Black ancestry and the beauty of Blackness. I don't hide anything that is valuable to me with how I show up in the world. So I would just tell myself that you're okay the way you are.
And I think that is a beautiful way to say, everybody, if you want to know more about Ronnell Perry and AfroBuenaventura Transformative Travel, go to, and Ronnell, can you tell them where to go?
AfroBuenaventura.com.
All right.
On
And
it, yeah.
you can follow AfroBuenaventura on Instagram as well as Twitter. You can also look at the show's description, and you can find wherever you find a video clip of this podcast episode, there'll be information about Ronnell and his many ways that he shows up in the world and serves from a heart that is centered in who he truly is, his real self. Do you want to say anything else? Because we have a couple minutes that you may not have had a chance to share about yourself, about AfroBuenaventura, about Brazil, anything.
Hmm. I would say that I have a great life. I love my life. I want other people to live their lives as fully as they can. And literally, I see what I do as um, not just a business, but as a service to people, as a service to humans, because I'm working on two fronts. I have clients, but I'm also working with communities, and the communities are just equally as important to me. Um, I think when I was growing up and coming through college, there was always like this big push to go into corporate America, to have like these things that were physical manifestations of your success, financial manifestations of your success. But you know what? In Brazil, they totally value things differently among in the Black community specifically. It's not always about working until you drop dead. It's not always about having the best clothes on. It's literally about enjoying your life. So, like sometimes I want stuff to happen when I want it to happen. It doesn't happen like that here. I want people to do things because I'm paying them. It doesn't always happen like that here. The most important thing that a lot of Brazilians here, and specifically around Black Brazilians here, is enjoying their lives. Literally, they would choose having an ice cold beer and going to the beach over making extra dollars after they've already done their work for the day. And that's not to say that they're backward or they're less hardworking than anybody else, but the most important thing for them is to enjoy their life. And that's a lesson that I'm consistently learning that, we can work hard, we can get our money, we can get our degrees, but actually another part of why we're here on earth is to enjoy the life that we are given. And that's really what I try to do. And that's what I want other people to do is actually just sit down and enjoy your life in whatever it looks like for you.
Yeah. It's for me when I think about you, and it's not a business. For me, what you do is a ministry. You happen to get currency as a result. Not happen to, you get currency in terms of energy, community, relationships, dollars, the Brazilian currency. Um, it's a ministry of helping people liberate themselves so that they can experience joy, so that they can be open in their heart and their spirit to connect with what they need to connect with, not necessarily with any ancestor, but what they need to connect with. Maybe you just need to reconnect with yourself. Maybe you need to slow down. Maybe you need to be soft as fuck with yourself, whatever it is. Maybe you just need to have fun. Maybe you just need to be a foodie and follow the taste buds of Ronnell, because he will take you on a magical experience in terms of food, beverages, experiences. You will live the good life with Ronnell and what he offers. I I'm still, unpacking the experience of being there and how it really served as a catalyst for me to um, get out of my way, to get out of my way. It was in many ways a rebirth for me, surprising in some instances, and then in others, affirming. And being able to have that time, um, just from spirit to creativity to fashion to, because I like my stuff. Like one of the gifts that he gave us at the end of the trip was a Yemenia beautiful necklace, and she is an African Yemenia. Um, and that is something that I treasure. If you look in my window, there's a sculpture. I'll have to post a picture of it that we got in our welcome back. Lots of wonderful gifts, and it's not just the material. It's the just the gift of community. Everybody that we traveled with, we all connected in our own unique way, and it was community. It was family. And so you'll have all kinds of experiences. My thing whenever I travel is don't expect anything and be open for everything. And if you want to know more about what I'm doing and my work with Thriving Mindfully Academy and the offerings that are coming up this spring and summer, tune into the next Ananda commercials. Now, y'all know I like to have Ananda commercials. I stopped calling them commercials and just said Ananda commercials. Ronnell, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest. Enjoy your dinner. And we know that you're going to be fabulous and fly, because that's just how you are. And we'll talk soon.
Ananda, thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure. I value your presence and valued your presence on the trip. It was incredible having you there. The energy you brought was spectacular. Your openness to everything you experienced was amazing. Thank you so much for being you, exactly the way you are. Thank you for having me here with this space and engaging with you and your community. I really look forward to seeing what you're doing in the future, and I would love to have you on a live with me sometime in the future as well, talking about your work and also your experience on the trip, if you allow. Thank you so much.
Anytime, the answer is always
Absolutely.
yes. And I'll be
Great.
practicing my Portuguese so I can say it a little bit more.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Take care. See you next time. Can you believe that we are in 2023, that we moved through the pandemic in 2020, 2021, 2022? If you're like me, the COVID-19 pandemic changed how you lived, how you communicated, how you learned, how you worked, how you shopped, how you played, how you did business in the world. So much has happened since then. So much continues to happen. One of the best ways that you can move through these changes and more is to remind yourself that you matter, that you're worthy, that you are the most important person in your life. That's right. If you didn't know it, I'm here to tell you. You deserve to make yourself a priority. And one of the ways that you can take action to make yourself a priority is with a retreat. A retreat helps you carve out time and space and take responsibility for yourself. When you take responsibility for yourself, you begin to see your full self. Here's what happens when you get support during a retreat. You have someone like myself to hold space for you, to guide you in giving yourself an opportunity to take responsibility for identifying your vulnerabilities, your challenges, your wins, and your losses, and so much more. A retreat with support can also help you set intentions and create accountability, plans, and shifts and how you choose to show up in your life, your relationships, your career, and your business. If this sounds like something that might be of interest to you, I want to invite you to the spring virtual retreat that I'm offering on 2 days in April. April 18th, which is a Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then on Saturday, April 22nd, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Your investment is $43. Now, let me tell you, during the retreat, you're going to have a chance to get grounded with a mindful moment. That's deep breathing and a little mindful movement. I'm only inviting you to move your body in the way that works best for you. Also, during the retreat, you'll be able to identify the areas that you need to take responsibility for in your life during the spring season, because spring starts in March, and we have April, May, and June until we get to the first day of summer, the summer solstice, to explore how you can take responsibility for those areas in your life that are calling you now. You're going to get some support on how to take responsibility for yourself through wisdom that I'm pulling from you in an activity that is going to get you to contact your internal wisdom. You may get that internal wisdom from your higher power, from your ancestors. I'm going to share some wisdom about the season of spring, the moon, and astrology. Not saying that you have to take any of that in, but I'm giving it as a buffet of ways for you to take responsibility. You're going to experience a mini sound bath meditation performed by yours truly that will help you open your heart to embrace the fresh starts of the spring season, the new beginnings that spring brings. You're also going to participate in an intention setting and action planning series of exercises that invite you to reflect, to journal, and to draw. I'm asking folks to dress comfortably during this virtual retreat, to bring their favorite pens, pencils, colored pencils, crayons, magic marker, and paper to draw on if you feel like you might draw, and also a snack, because we'll be together for 90 minutes. A Zoom video link will be emailed to you once you register for the online retreat. You can go to anandaleeke.com/retreat to get more details. I will see you in the spring virtual retreat. This year, I'm hosting the Soft as Fuck Sundays. It is sacred space for meditation, reflection, journaling, intention setting, and community sharing in a safe space on April 30th, May 21st, June 25th, September 24th, October 29th, and November 19th from 2 to 3 p.m. at Key Kratom CBDT, 1517 U Street Northwest in DC. Your investment is $23. You can get more information by going to anandaleeke.com/soft. One of the ways that I've been able to prepare myself and to take action from a grounded place in my body, in my breath, in my life is through human design. Human design is an amazing self-empowerment, and it's IN-POWERMENT, empowerment, because it's from the inside out. It's a self-empowerment and self-discovery tool that was introduced to me in 2021 through a coaching experience. And over the past 2 years, I have experimented with it and integrated it into my life my relationships and my career and my business. And it is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong experiment. I am now bringing it into a space where I'm offering it to folks like you to support you in preparing yourself and taking action in your life, your relationships, and your career and business. It marries my Thriving Mindfully, heart-centered approach to being present well in the real you. And I use it with my coaching clients. I use it with the Thriving Mindfully Academy members. And now I want to invite you to explore it with me as your human design doula. In human design, you are called to give birth, if you will, to yourself, the real you. And we do that every single day. We do it every single moment. We get 1,440 minutes each and every day. And in each minute, you're birthing yourself. I mean, you're always changing. You're always growing. And so in order to navigate that process, I'm here acting as a doula, someone who can midwife you through this experience, help you understand what human design is based on where you are in your life, help you take the parts of human design that resonate with you the most, because at different times, different things resonate with us, and help you understand it, help you see how you can use it as a tool to connect with your own body's awareness and wisdom. If you're interested, I want to invite you to visit my website. Go to anandaleeke.com/human design to learn more about how we can work together. I offer 2 types of readings. There's a basic reading, and then there's a more advanced reading once you have an understanding of human design. Check it out. There's also a video that walks you through my own human design experience and gives you some basic information about human design. There are other podcast episodes for the Thriving Mindfully podcast that you can check out. Just go to anandaleeke.com/podcast, or wherever you find this podcast, you can look and see in the archive the human design episodes. So I look forward to connecting with you more about human design. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit anandaleeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit anandaleeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books: Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel; That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir; and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to anandaleeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.